Hello everyone, Sean here, and we are back for another top list of sorts. Thought we were done with it, but I totally forgot about the movies. Totally had to, had to include movies somehow. I think it was just because 2020 was such a very lopsided year that the nature of movie theaters and just movies in general have been shook one way or the other. We can definitely say that. So the landscape of movies is definitely different for right now. Having to stay home just to be safe from the situation outside, right? To avoid getting sick, and streaming has been much of a forefront nowadays, right? Especially this year too, with HBO Max putting out all their movies not only on the big screen, but on your screen, through streaming with HBO Max. That is the nature right now. So a number of these movies, on this list will be pretty much the majority have been streamed pretty much. So that's just the thing of it. But no less, I can still talk about them and how I rank them for 2020 for movies. So thank you so much. But before we get into the meat of things, just wanted to remind you guys to like and subscribe, and also later on comment what's your top movies of 2020 on your list. What's your movie of the year, pretty much at that. Please leave those in the comment section below, and we'll love to check them out. For now, we can definitely get into the top 5 list of movies for 2020. So here we go. Starting off with number 5. This is kind of a dirty pick in my opinion, but because I didn't get to watch that many movies in comparison to last year, it's Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman 1984 makes it into number 5 just because I don't have that many movies on my list, honestly. So, but you'll know why it's here anyway. But Wonder Woman 1984, I had my opinion on it, and overall, it was a mess. It was a cinematic mess. The storytelling was probably the weakest aspect of things. While the technical production side of things was, technically good, the actors did their part. I love Pedro Pascal for what character he did. I just love the charismatic thing that he tried to give off, and he looked like he had a lot of fun with it. Gal Gadot definitely, was able to kind of take it to the next step with Wonder Woman, showing some more emotion, including, sadness and stuff like that. You'll understand once you watch the movie. However, with some of the good moments it had, it was overwhelmed by so much of the weaknesses. It's just really lacks what made the first Wonder Woman good. While it had some decent action scenes, I really like the beginning and such. And some parts somewhere in the middle-ish, it's kind of scattered throughout. But beginning was definitely the strongest act. The middle and the end of it could have been better, but it was all right. But the middle of things was definitely the weakest part. It was so boring, in my opinion, and I actually started falling asleep to a DC movie, a brand new DC movie at that, with Wonder Woman. I did not expect that, but with the little things that it had, it did keep me up. There were some really ridiculous parts, including the scene with Wonder Woman saving the 2 kids on that road in Egypt. Oh my god, it was so... They're just comically bad in the most ironic sense. If you guys know what I'm talking about, yeah. I mean, if you haven't seen already, go see it for yourself. I think it's worth the watch just for like sort of that ironic sort of mindset that you can set yourself to, and just have a good laugh. I mean, why not? It's on your you can stream it, I think, still as I record this, but at this point, whether you can or not, once it comes back around as a sort of rental or something like that, I think it's still worth the one-time watch. It does feel too long for what it is, though. I complained about that in my review, saying that it just felt like 2 movies stuffed into into one, and it's really did not mix together. In my opinion, it wasn't written well. The whole thing with Cheetah, like it could have been better. I didn't mind how the character herself was handled, but how she was implemented into the story was not the strongest or the best way to be handled, in my opinion. Her role could have been better utilized for the movie. They could have, gone with the whole like, Cheetah being the rogue Amazonian, excuse me. That as I heard from the comics, I had a friend tell me about that, and in this case though, it's different, and it's all about the wishing, and then the logic was just so inconsistent. It just got mumble jumbled and became a freaking mess. Yeah, it's just I think at this point, it's a 5 out of 10 for me. It like right in the middle. It had its good moments, but the important elements to make a really good movie were super missed. And I hope that the next time Wonder Woman comes around again, as the next movie, I hope they improve on those weaknesses and come back again swinging, and hopefully they can come back stronger than ever for the sake of things. I do like Wonder Woman. I did like I actually went rewatched the first Wonder Woman movie, and that was actually really a real treat in comparison. It really makes me appreciate it even more. I really love the action. I love her sort of this like new world sort of vibe that kind of get from her. I felt like Godot did that perfectly. She fit that role so perfectly, in my opinion. I love Chris Pine's role at the time. Unfortunately, I think his name is like Steve or something. I keep forgetting his name. It's just kind of forgettable, in my opinion. His name anyway. His character, of course, memorable because he's the comic relief, right? I think it was Trevor. Okay, Trevor. Let's just say Trevor. Trevor, unfortunately, kind of like took a lot of the screen time, or he was, I don't know. I mean, at this point, I mean, they could have used him or utilized him differently, I guess. That whole thing with Trevor, like coming back, the way they did it was just weird itself. When I do have some issues about that, but overall, I enjoyed the first movie in comparison to this very so much. There's just a lot of things that were missed from the first movie being trying to carry over to 84. So all in all, it was a mess. It had its moments, but it was a mess. And I'm just glad I didn't go to theaters for it. Let's just say that much. Now we're going to go into number 4 of things. And this is, a spoiler, I guess, but this is the most unique pick out of this bunch here. And that is My Hero Academia's Heroes Rising. This is the second movie now in the My Hero Academia lineup. I actually saw this in theaters. And funny enough, this was actually the last movie that I've checked out in the theaters before the pandemic really hit and we all had to stay home and stuff just to be safe. So this was the last movie of 2020 I saw in theaters. So I mean, at least it was at My Hero Academia. I mean, which is a series itself that I do like. I think it's a little overrated in my opinion. While yes, it does have some very good qualities, I think it's a little too high up on the pedestal in my opinion, but that could be a different video itself. But with that said, though, I do like it still. It's still one of my sort of like top shonen series as of now in comparison to like all the other stuff, all the new stuff anyway. So, My Hero Academia, I wanted to check it out in theaters just to see what's up. There was an opportunity to see the second movie. It was in Japanese, so hey, it was all the more sort of the reason to check it out. So I did, and I came out of the theater very confused. I know this isn't canon, just like a lot of the anime movies are in like shonen series, right? They're usually not canon. But it really seemed like it was really playing around with the canon of the manga storyline, right? I think in fact this was supposed to be a concept of one of the endings that the author slash creator wanted to play around with. But I think that's not going to be the final ending, hence why this became a movie itself in the first place. So this is pretty much like him discovering how would the fans would react to this ending, right? And all I can say is that it's just weird. And I definitely would not have liked it if this was actually the last or the final moment in the series. So I'm glad that he kind of went with a different route. I think it was a very good thing. And, at the time I didn't like it. I didn't agree with it. But over time, at this point, I'm kind of just apathetic about it at this point. I don't care about it all that much. But with that said, though, the action scenes, the everything else was fine. It was good. You kind of it's just more or less what you expect from an anime movie, from a shonen series. So there's nothing really like out in the ordinary or something just extravagant or just outrageous about it. It's just still within their borders, right? That's kind of how I feel about it. Very My Hero Academia, right? If that makes sense. Of course, it's a fucking academia movie, but it doesn't explore more besides that ridiculous ending. So it's just overall that's just kind of how I feel about it. Coming out of that theater, and I can definitely tell you that other people reacted that way. I was like listening to other people's reactions. They're just like, "What? Like, what is happening?" That sort of thing. I was the only one, so I'm pretty confident that a number of people beyond that felt that way too. But we have to remember that overall, this isn't super canon, and we don't have to worry about it. And I'm kind of glad that I want to say Horikoshi, his last name, but the creator kind of just got that out of his chest, and now we don't have to worry about it being the ending for the series anyway, the series finale. We're definitely, from what I've read in the manga series as of now, I'm caught up with it. Man, it is crazy. I think it definitely will definitely take it to the next level. I think, no pun intended, I don't mean to be cheesy about it, but I think the ending coming up for this one, once it gets there, is definitely going to be plus ultra in comparison to the ending that Heroes Rising had to offer. So all in all, I mean, it's an alright movie. It's worth checking it out if you are just bored and you can just fire it up on your computer. So give it a try. It's, if you're a fan of the series, it's more sprinkles on top. So you can definitely fire it up and not be left with disappointment. But get ready for that ridiculous climax. That's all I can say. All right, so number 3 on this list is going to be Onward. This is the Disney's Pixar movie, right? This was the first movie that I saw through streaming. At the time, I remember my friend Danny, he checked it out himself in theaters. I think that was his last movie in theaters that he saw for 2020. I wanted to see this, but I did not want to take any risk for the sake of the pandemic, right? And so I just waited to see if they're going to put this on Disney Plus. And we didn't know, they did. I was really glad that they did, and I took the opportunity to make this my first streaming movie for 2020. So went ahead and checked it out. I overall loved it. I thought at first, though, it felt like pretty much like a average, almost average, maybe above average ish adventure sort of movie, with Chris Pratt and Tom Holland. Very, very well cast in my opinion. I love their roles, right? How they implemented themselves to these characters, what their take on it is, and it features, just fantasy and kind of plays around with that sort of that classic Western fantasy, and I do like that aspect of things. It kind of is sort of reminiscent of like Dungeons and Dragons as well. So those that community, I felt like would have had would have gotten the kick out of this movie. But as the movie went on, it became more and more of a unique movie. And by the end of it, it was very emotional. I loved it. It really tickled that sort of that side of me, right? And very heartwarming ending. It hit all the right notes of those sides of emotions, and it really did it well. So that's why it's a pretty good movie with a very strong ending in my opinion. So with this one, I definitely at least give it a 7 out of 10 at least. The beginning and stuff, like all the stuff before it, is, I don't want to say filler, but it kind of felt like it in comparison to what the later half had to offer. It just, I don't know, it just kind of snowballed to become like a better movie. So overall, definitely not bad. It definitely is worth a watch, especially on Disney Plus. And this is definitely something I really liked. So again, around 7 out of 10, worth a watch. And I was very much happy with that being my first streaming movie. Now, before we go into the last two movies, the top two movies, I wanted to make this mention, right? Is it an honorable mention? I think it's a dishonorable mention. In fact, this is considered, I consider this my worst movie of 2020. I had to include in there, and it is the Mulan movie. Oh my God. This movie was absolutely dry. It pretty much had the charm of a hollow brick, if you know what I'm saying. At least, your regular brick is solid, it's rigid, it has use to it. But this one, it's because it's hollow, it's gonna break easily, and it's also a brick. It's doesn't have much to it outside of its initial use or its purpose. And I feel like this movie didn't really have all that much purpose to it. Especially bearing that name Mulan. It's, like, this movie did not need to be made, and it just came out so horribly. Not that it was a bad movie per se, but it was just so boring and dry and just, mediocre at best when it comes to the charm of it. I remember watching Mulan as a kid, with the animated movie, of course, the movie, and I loved it because it was the first sort of that Asian take on, the Asian sort of side of Disney, right? It explored that side of things, and of course, not Japanese, of course, but it was still something I really liked. I love the animation for it. I love the story behind it. I love Mulan. I love Mushu. I love the three guys, right? The commander, of course, Shang, the villain, of course. I think it was like Shang something, right? Or is it Shang? No, it was Shang Yu, right? I think it was Shang Yu. I want to say, but anyway, I loved everything about the movie, right? Including even the musical parts were pretty cool at that. Implementing the martial arts and also just the musical side of Disney, kind of meshed into that. I love that, and just the movie was so good in comparison to this. It really just kind of ruins and tarnishes the Mulan name. It really does not bring anything over to this live action take on it. The actress was fine, right? The actors or like people casted were fine. It was just that it just doesn't really feel like a Mulan movie overall. It's just it just felt like a Chinese movie or Chinese like warrior movie, kind of taking the Mulan name just for the sake of it. And yeah, it just really lacked a lot of the charm. It was just dry. Again, I was kind of falling asleep to it at some point, but I managed to pick myself up and power through the movie. Oh boy, though, it was hard, especially by the last, like the final blow in the final battle. That was horribly just edited and just inserted into the movie. It just felt weak, and it really is not the worthy sort of spiritual successor to the original Mulan movie, or the animated movie, excuse me. I just felt like it just took the name for the sake of it, and the whole like politics behind it definitely was kind of like the cherry on this kind of shitty Sunday. Uh, like you know, as much as I don't care about it too much, the problem here is just the movie sucked. That's just the big takeaway from this. Um, like there's not much more to say other than that. There's just nothing to praise about it, honestly. It tried to please everybody, and it wound up pleasing nobody, pretty much. I'm pretty sure the Western audiences are definitely not pleased with it, and maybe the Chinese aren't as pleased with it because it's just boring. I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm not too sure how the Chinese side of the audience felt about it, but they're not. I don't see them raving about it or harking about it. So we can leave it at that, pretty much. I mean, was it a success? I don't know, but and I almost forgot too. This at one point, this movie cost $30 on top of your subscription with Disney Plus. So that was just another cherry on that shitty Sunday. So I'm glad I was able to catch this actually in January. But of course, this is a movie from 2020, so I had to mention it somewhere, right? As my worst movie of 2020. So unfortunately, yeah, that's just the nature of it. So I don't know if it's something I can say to just go watch it for the laughs, because it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt watching it because of how much it tarnishes the Mulan name. You know. Again, I was really glad I wasn't the one who paid $30 for it. I'm glad I waited. But even then, I felt like I wasted 2 hours and whatever minutes of my time just to check out this movie. Alrighty, so now we can go into top two of things for movies 2020. So with number two, I gotta say it, man. It's Sonic the Hedgehog. I absolutely really liked how this movie turned out. I had still some initial skepticism, right? The movie did look promising more and more as sort of time sort of went on before its release. Of course, how could we forget the initial trailer pitch to the entire world? People just lost their mind of how ugly the initial design was. This had Hollywood written all over it. They had no understanding at the time. But, wow, what do you know? They actually went ahead and took the feedback of the fans and the viewers, of course, and they had to go back and redesign Sonic and make him, guess what? Like the video game character, right? That the movie is based off of. What do you know? Wow. Who would have thought that it would actually work? Right? Instead of just making this creepy human esque, video game character. It was such a oddly proportioned and designed character. It looked too human, and yet it wasn't human. It just kind of wound up being really creepy and gross looking to look at, especially in comparison to the final design of the movie version of Sonic. And so with that aside, I love the movie for what it was. I love how Sonic turned out. He's supposed to be a little younger, so kind of makes sense of how Sonic acted in the movie. So I was able to get behind that. I love the casting of it. The main human character, I was definitely fine with. I thought he was fine for what he was. I love Jim Carrey, being on screen. Very reminiscent of the old Jim Carrey movies that I loved as a kid. Him being Dr. Eggman, let's be real. It's more Jim Carrey than Dr. Eggman, but there is some still Dr. Eggman / Robotnik's kind of sprinkled in there. I loved it overall. It was just very charming in its own sense, in its own right. So Jim Carrey, I mean, as weird as a weird cast it was, it's actually pretty cool. And I'm all behind for Jim Carrey wanting to do more Doctor Robotnik slash Eggman. I want to definitely see where this is going. But the story of it was pretty good. I like the things that they're setting up with. Giving us some of the hints of like the video game world. Green Hill Zone, and some of the new characters that were in the movie. The big owl, right? I forget her name. Of course, there's gonna be more characters, right? I mean, at this point, we all know Tails is gonna be in there, so um, there's talk about Knuckles making it in there as well. So yeah, it's just really setting up a lot of good things about it. And as a fan of the Sonic video games, I liked it myself. I really liked how it turned out, especially with how video game movies usually turn out. But with the exception of some of them, like Detective Pikachu, this is another one of the good video game movies, in my opinion. Um, it completely wasn't like cringy or anything like that. Yes, it does have some of the kids sort of modern kid humor, right, for the sake of things like the flossing and stuff. But it still had the charm that I can get behind, and it just was a good around, all fun sort of film. And yeah, it's a very good take on Sonic, in my opinion. So it's a little different, so that's good. While it retains the overall character, Sonic the Hedgehog, so I'm definitely again behind. I'm behind that, so I can get behind that. So I think at the time I had to give the movie like 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10. I think it's still around that sort of scoring. I really liked how it turned out, graphics and all, and I hope they implement more and more of the video game elements from the video game series, like the Chaos Emeralds, for example, perhaps Supersonic, right? At some point, we'll definitely have to see about that. Maybe Chaos and will make an appearance, and then Shadow will make like a cameo at some point during the credit scenes, right? Post credit scenes, hinting towards a third Sonic movie at some point. That Shadow will be in it, and it will be based off of the Sonic Adventure 2 storyline in some way. I hope. I don't know, but either way, I definitely look forward to it. With Sonic the Hedgehog, of course, Ben Schwartz did a very good job with the voicing, and of course Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik slash Eggman. So definitely looking forward to more of that in the next movie. Alrighty, so now we're gonna finally can get into number one on my personal list, and this is definitely my movie of the year for 2020. I have to give it to Soul, Pixar's Soul. I definitely loved the overall quality of it. As much as I like Sonic, I mean, we have to be real. The quality, the class of it, the overall sort of the turnout was really great. I love the animation quality for it. It was top notch once again. I like the story behind it, the themes surrounding it, the whole sort of like inspiration side of things was a nice take on it overall. This time around they used inspiration as like the main sort of drive for this Pixar movie, and it was utilized pretty good in my opinion. Maybe perhaps the ending could have been a little better, but overall it was a solid movie. There's nothing to really hark about it too much. I didn't find anything too much to complain about. Nothing really extreme. It was just a solid movie all around. No sort of drama in that sense, right? I love the sort of that urban side of the the black community, right? Of course, they showed off the barbershop, the sort of the jazz, of course, which was pretty much the main theme behind it. As the main character was a music teacher, right, who aspired to be a sort of this band performer, right, who wanted to do these gigs, like his sort of idol, I guess, right? But it's definitely all about this self-discovery as well as inspiration. And I love the other character. It was like 21, 22 or something like that. I forget her name. But I liked her for what she was, right? Being sort of be the sort of like that the new world sort of character, right? Discovering the new world, which is pretty much like inspiration, right? Because her initial premise was that she couldn't be inspired by anything, but through the eyes of the main character, she was able to find a spark of sorts. So I liked how they sort of played around with it, and the sort of drama within it, like the climax and everything, that was pretty good. But again, the whole art direction, the voice performances, right, especially from one of the serious workers, right, was really funny and memorable to me. I think, in fact, that character was the most memorable, besides the main character, 22 or whatever her name was, the cat, you know. Yeah, I think that character was very memorable. I like that one. I like that character. And yeah, it's just another high quality Pixar movie that's definitely worth the watch on streaming. I think it's still around, but I could be wrong. I don't want to set up wrong expectations. But if you can check it out, it definitely is worth it. It's definitely worth a watch. It's just another great Pixar movie in my opinion. That one I would definitely give a strong 8 out of 10. 7 at the very lowest, for sure. 8 out of 10 though, right around there, 8.5-ish, right? That's pretty much how I feel about Soul. It's my number one movie of the year for 2020. So that's the list for you, for 2020. So thank you guys so much. Again, please comment below of what your top movies for 2020 was, and of course, what's your movie of the year as well. I want to hear that in the comment section below, or I want to read that in the comment section below, rather. And don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps out. I really appreciate it, guys. So this has been my top 5 movies of 2020, with the honorable or dishonorable mention of the worst movie on my list. It is Mulan, right? That's how it goes. So 2020 was, given the nature of things, yeah, gotta understand. But there are still some movies to praise about. So wanted to get that out there. And this year is going to be pretty stacked, a little better, in my opinion. Of course, Godzilla's coming up. Can't wait for that one. The DC movies, right, including the Snyder Cut of Justice League, so on and so forth, and definitely cannot wait for all the streaming stuff that's happening around it, including the rest of HBO Max, Disney Plus, everything you can name it, man. Definitely can't wait. But also next year is gonna be super stacked for sure. But we got to get through 2021 first, and hoping to see some good movies out of it. So there's gonna be bound to be some bad ones if you are willing to dig through, but I believe we're gonna have some very good ones. So I hope Godzilla versus Kong is one of them. So, but we'll definitely have to get through 2021 for that, for us to find out. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it, guys, for you tuning in. Hopefully, happy movie viewing for 2021, especially at the comfort of your home. So thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay safe. Sean out.